second movement for B. So we started out, I went to chop her neck. She blocked, got back, she goes to chop my wrist, and I withdraw. She then goes up towards my neck. Now, I don't like that particularly. I'd rather keep my neck. So, as she comes up, I block. Now, I use this guard. I don't know if you can see this quite clearly. My guard is blocking her blade. Now, that's why it's called a guard. And you'll see it a lot, because if this guard was not here, it would just slide down, I could cut her. But instead, you see the guard stops, and you'll see a lot of the movements use the guard for various things. Now, if you look in, can you show them your guard? If you can see inside here, it's a cup. And there's depth, so that when Stephanie punctures me and my blood runs down here, it'll catch in this little cup, rather than getting on her hand. If her hand got too sticky with the blood, it would be hard to hold the saber. So these are cupped. This particular training one is not cupped, so it's not nearly as safe as that one. Yes, I could get slippery with mine. Okay, so far, the principles that we've kind of worked with are stepping inside, waiting, being there. It's sort of like you go, come on, do something, come on, do something. And the minute they do something, then they expose themselves to being attacked. If I don't get Stephanie to come out, she's in her castle, she's in her strength, but the minute she pokes or something, well, then I can do something. But it's very difficult. That's why that makes this bold move in the beginning. I come out, wham, and it's a big chance because Stephanie's in her strength, she's fine. So we see this waiting for the person to expose themselves. Then the second principle that we've worked on is stepping in. As I come out, she blocks and steps inside me. The third principle we're working with is level. So now I'm down, she moves up. The fourth principle is feinting or faking. You see she comes down and then I'm guarding. Now, as I come up, as she's coming in, I'm raising my saber to block. Now you see I have a nice strong structure here too, and she does too. This is very strong because these are heavy weapons. They could weigh as much as 7, 8 pounds, and when you're throwing them around, it's very hard. So I'm supporting this. Now, as I come in, she sees me coming up. Immediately, she goes to the lower level. She immediately comes in, you see, and goes to change to the middle level, which is the belly. Okay, so here we go again. Let's start. So from hiding, I come out to chop her neck. She steps in, blocking, cuts my wrist. I get it out of the way. She goes for my neck, I block. Now she comes in to go for my belly. Now this is a thrust. This movement that she just is making is what's called a thrust. This movement is so strong and powerful, you just can't believe it. There are little pokes. For instance, I could just poke her wrist or poke her a little bit, which would be enough to discourage her, or just generally keep her from doing something. But then there's this thing that Stephanie's now doing. It's called a thrust, which is she's going to run that saber right through me. So when she goes to thrust, it's the whole body goes wham right through me. So it's just go whoosh, It's not just a surface. So when a thrust comes in, she wants to go right through. Okay? So you'll see that in this particular move, very strong thrusting motion. So we're going back here. Okay. So here we are. A goes to cut the neck. B blocks or not, comes in, I get out of the way. She goes for my upper, I block. Now, she changes levels. As she changes, I stick. Now, here's one of our Taiji principles, sticking. I'm gently touching her. I'm not knocking her out here. I'm gently sticking. And as she thrusts, I let it go by. You see, I encourage her to move by. And now you can see, if you stay there thrusting, you can see how she's open at this level. She's stretched out and she's open, so I can then sneak in here. So you'll see this a lot of times in the Saber forms. You encourage them in to go further, and then you sneak on in. So, from the beginning. I go to cut her neck. She block, withdraw, I withdraw. She then comes up, I block, she steps in to thrust, I neutralize, and now here I come in and poke into the ribs. You see, into the ribs. Now, this is another one of those really beautiful things. The ribs, in between, if you feel your ribs, you'll notice that there's just a very little space in between them, very little. If I were to poke Steffi's ribs like this, you see, I wouldn't get in very far because there's not much space. So, if I want to go to the ribs, I turn it horizontally, you see, and then I can fit right in there, you see. So, you'll notice that the rib thrusts are horizontal. The poking motions, where if I were to poke her in the knee, or if I were to poke her between the eyes here, right, I poke her in the belly, poke her in the leg, I can use the poking mechanism, whereas in thrusting, you do that too. In this case, the ribs, this is a thrust the ribs, but I'm going to go sideways. Here we go again. Okay. I go to cut her neck. She blocks, steps in, I neutralize. She cuts my neck, I block. She comes in, I neutralize in helping it go this way. Then I go to thrust. Now, she probably doesn't want me to poke her through in the ribs. So what she's going to do is just gently block me down. Now you see now where am I open? Yeah, on this side, I'm open. So she decides, okay, she's going to attack me. So she comes around, makes a little undercutting cut to my wrist. You see, it's very small. She'll show that again. Now watch. Okay, so from here, you see, so she just makes a little cut and then follows it with a big chop. So there's two little cuts off to my arm because it's stretched out there. Okay, so if we come back here, so with like, say if you're thrusting, your thrust, and I neutralize, I go to poke, she gently takes me down, cuts upward, and cuts downward. Okay, now, as she does this, as she starts to step to the side, I see her going over there. So as she starts, let's go back here again. So I thrust. Now as she starts to go over, I said, so I go for her neck. I want to cut her neck, you see, because I see her going in that direction. So I go to cut her neck, but this little thing now becomes a block. She could have cut my wrist. This wrist uppercut could have been a cut, but it's now a block, and which now, again, she still moves inside. Again, she moves inside and goes for the wrist.